Hi, I am Tim Howard, former soccer player turned studio analyst.
Start with the one we always start with. What was the first one? Does it still exist?
My Superman, yeah, I was 16 years old. I went down to this place in Jersey. I took my brother's fake ID, and this was 1996, maybe? Yeah, 1996. And I think Superman was a thing. I think Shaquille O'Neal had Superman. I think someone else had a Superman, so I was like, I'm gonna get a Superman. It wasn't the smartest idea, but I was cool the next day in school. 16-year-old junior in high school, not many people had tattoos, so, you know, well, at least I thought I was cool. Everybody else probably thought I was an idiot. But anyway, so that was my first one. Yeah, it exists. So on this leg, on my right leg, I got a lot of mostly traditional. On my left leg, my lower leg has a Japanese theme piece, and then my upper leg is all faces. So they're either portraits or some sort of face. I think my portraits are my favorite. Portraits take a long time. It takes a really special artist. Emma Kierzig is my artist, and she's up in the north of England. And so I used to see her all the time when I lived over there. So she's done a lot of my portraits, and she's absolutely brilliant. That's one of my grandfather in the Hungarian army in 1950, 40-something. JFK was the personification of coolness. And here he is just smoking a heater, you know, like just, I don't know, in a tuxedo, chilling somewhere, you know, and I just like, that's it, side profile portrait, amazing. So, I don't know, it just kind of stuck out to me, and I thought, one day we'll talk about it, here we are. Oddly enough, my favorite tattoo is my Nas tattoo on my hand. So, I'm a product of the golden era of hip hop, right? I grew up, my teenage years were in the mid-90s, and Nas is greatest MC of all time. You know, there's no argument there. Very recently, about 2 years ago, when I was living in Denver, he played a show at Denver with Mary J. Blige, and I'm not, if I'm being brutally honest, I'm not a I want to meet you type of person. That's just not who I am. There's been very few people that I can count that I've wanted to meet, but I had to meet Nas. I was like, if I could do it, I'm gonna do it. So I pulled out all the stops, I talked to a bunch of friends, went backstage. I got a chance to meet him, and I was like, you know, it might be weird, but like I got Illmatic tattooed on me. Luke Westman in LA did my Illmatic tattoo, and I was like, if you sign my hand, I would love to get it tattooed. So he's like, yeah, man, sure. So we kicked it. He signed my hand, took a picture with him, and then it was like midnight. I'm calling all around trying to find one of my tattoo artists in Denver. No one's open. You know, it's midnight. So everyone's like, I can do it tomorrow. I was like, so I had to like sleep with my hand off the bed and make sure, like, it was Sharpie. It wasn't gonna come off, but I was like, I can't get Nas's tattoo again, signature again. So I went the next day after the concert and got it tattooed, and that's it. It's my favorite, for sure, easily. Scary as hell, feeling like it was cool, because it was cool, and I was this kid that came from nowhere, but also realizing like that wasn't gonna pay the bills. Like I was gonna have to figure this thing out very quickly on the fly, getting thrown into the deep end. So it was daunting. It was one of the scariest moments of my life, you know, particularly on that first occasion, not knowing what the hell I was doing, but thinking, all right, I'm a decent goalkeeper. I got some ability here, so we got to figure this thing out. Spent 3 years at Man United and then 10 glorious years at Everton Football Club. And outside of my two children, Everton Football Club is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. The people, the ability for me to play 400 times for that club, you know, becoming an Evertonian myself, loving the fans, having them love me, feeling like that's home. There's nothing like it in the world. And obviously, you know, playing at the Gladys Street end with all of those blues behind you, just willing you on and having this togetherness. Yeah, I'm on the field playing, but they're there, and it's just one family, one team, and it's really special. And it's like I said, I played for Manchester United, which is the biggest football club in the world, and I played for Everton, which is the greatest football club in the world. I was born with Tourette syndrome, and then it manifested itself when I was 10 years old. So I signed for Man United, and in the press, one of the tabloid papers, which they're all tabloids over there, you know, it said Man United signs disabled goalkeeper, which could be a little bit hurtful. If I'm being honest, I've always been a pretty bold and confident person. And really, if I'm being brutally honest, I just signed for Manchester United. You know, I became a millionaire overnight. Like nothing was gonna take the wind out of my sails. No one was gonna, like I read that and I almost chuckled because Well, whatever, you know, it's ignorant, but and then the fans, you know, the fans, in fairness, Manchester United fans had a song that I probably can't repeat, but it was endearing. It was about me and about my Tourette syndrome, and it was endearing. And then opposing fans would also chant about it. You know, you got thousands of people chanting about my Tourette syndrome, but in a really odd way, it was somewhat loving. It was somewhat endearing, you know? So I never really took it too seriously. Someone once told me, when they stop talking about you is when you need to worry. So good or bad, I take it. You know, any soccer player who grows up to have a ball at their feet dreams about playing for their country. And then once you dream about playing for your country, very quickly you dream about playing in a World Cup. When you know that that's the highest representation you could ever have as a player, it drives you, to eat, sleep, and breathe the game and do everything in your power to try and be your best to get selected to make a World Cup team and then go to a World Cup and hear that national anthem be played and play against the best teams in the world. And so, I dedicated my life to that, and it worked out. You have a responsibility as a soccer player in this country to be an ambassador for the sport, of course. But when you go on the field, that's not something that is in the forefront of your mind. Obviously, winning the game and performing at the highest level possible is. And then you realize that, when you go to a World Cup in South Africa, and then you go to a World Cup in Brazil, and, the crossover that took place during our generation, people on Wall Street leaving their jobs early to go into the park and drink a beer and watch on the big screen. NBA players, NFL players wearing soccer jerseys, tweeting about the World Cup. Now you were part of a generation that helped the sport cross over into a whole nother realm. I always kind of thought the way my contracts were running that one contract would finish when I was 40, and I just felt like 40 was the right time, and there was just some synergy in that, and so I convinced myself that was the right time, and quite honestly, in hindsight it was, because now I have no desire to play the game of soccer. Maybe if my daughter wanted to go out and kick the ball around, I'll train with her, but even then it hurts. I'm very thankful for what the game has given me. It's given me everything, but the time was right to hang him up, because like I said, you'd have to pull me onto a soccer pitch now to play, because I don't want to play. I'll never ever be too far away from the game of soccer. It's, like I said, it's in my blood. It's a passion of mine. Just because I don't want to play anymore, it's still a passion. I still get excited. I love being a fan. I love watching, players play exceptional and players deal with adversity and bounce back. Like it's special to watch because I've been there. Goodison Park.
Of anywhere? Goodison Park? Regardless of what team you're on?
So a stadium.
Yeah.
I take that back. Azteca in Mexico City.
I was going to ask about least favorite place to play, and I thought that might be Azteca, but...
Could be both. Anfield. Literally an impossible question. Mexico. National pride. You don't play them as often either. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Maybe me. I got some bad ones, but whatever. My buddy, who I didn't even know could draw, by the way, drew a Homer Simpson one day, and I was like, that's cool. So got my buddy's Homer Simpson tattooed on my ass. So, there's a few different things. Most memorable save I ever made was in a penalty shootout, Manchester United versus Arsenal in the Community Shield. It was my first game. It's my first competitive game against their biggest rival, and I made a couple penalty saves, so one of those is the biggest. 2026 here in America.